around the world. We provide Bibles and other Christian literature. We provide training for pastors, church leaders, lay training in all sorts of skills. We provide literacy training, emergency relief. We work in advocacy and many, many other things across the world. But this morning, I just want to concentrate on what we're doing in Nigeria. As you will know, Nigeria is a country that's split basically north and south. The north Muslim and the south predominantly Christian. And if we do that, control, pass on to the next one, please. But in the north, Christians have suffered terribly in recent years. We know that over 13,000 churches have been destroyed, mainly through the activities of Boko Haram. This church was attacked 3 times, but the congregation there was not deterred despite the repeated attacks. They still met, as you can see, every Sunday for worship in the shell of their bombed-out building. Nigeria, for the last year that we have full figures, in the year 2015, was the most violent place in the world to be a Christian. We know that in that year, 7,100 people were martyred for their faith across the world. Those figures do not include Syria, Iraq, or North Korea because it's impossible to verify any figures coming from those countries. But across the rest of the world, 7,100 people were martyred. Of that figure, 4,028 were in northern Nigeria. That's over 50%. So that's why we say Nigeria has been the most violent place to be a Christian. Open Doors has been working in Nigeria for many years, providing not only Bibles and biblical training, but education. Here we have a school run by Open Doors in Katsina State. And not like the weather here, most of their lessons take place outside. And it's not a plush school. Situation is pretty basic, as you can see from this dormitory. But as well as education, we're involved in healthcare. And here we have Nurse Abraham standing outside a newly opened clinic, financed by Open Doors, providing healthcare for Christians throughout the area. Because if you're a Christian, well, you're a second-class citizen. You can be rushed to hospital with a life-threatening disease, and you'll be left waiting and waiting and waiting. Meanwhile, Muslim patients with a broken leg or a thorn in their thumb will be treated, patched up, and sent home. And if you die while you're waiting, suffering from a heart attack or a stroke or whatever, then so what? You're only a Christian. Which is why Open Doors is there providing healthcare for the people that need it most. But another basic essential of life is water. And in many northern Nigerian villages, where there are mixed populations of Muslims and Christians, very often the Christians are not allowed to draw water from the village well, because the Muslims will say, by their very presence, the Christians are contaminating the water. And so they're forced to send their children of 8, 9, 10 years old, maybe on a 5-mile walk to the nearest river to fetch a bucketful of dirty water. And yet, for just 200 British pounds, we can drill a borehole in that village to provide fresh drinking water for the whole Christian community. When I was in Kaduna State, in a place called Gideon Tale, I met these 3 farmers. And they explained to me that the soil quality in northern Nigeria is terrible, which is why the government is providing fertilizer. But if you're a Christian village, you will only get a fraction of the fertilizer that they give Muslim villages. And so Open Doors is helping by providing extra fertilizer for Christian farmers like these 3. And the chap on the left with that great big smile, he said to me, my land used to produce 10 to 12 sacks of maize a year. But after 1 year with the fertilizer from Open Doors, I got 20 sacks. And now the second year, he said, it looks like I might get 40 sacks. That's 3 times as much from the same piece of land, purely because of Open Doors' few sacks of fertilizer. And he said, my family are now living like kings. And then the next one is this lady. Oh, no, sorry, not this lady. The next one, this lady. There is a connection. This lady was introduced to me, and when she found out I was from Open Doors, she burst into song and dance in a way that only Nigerian ladies can. She was, hallelujah, she was dancing around the barn where we met, singing her hallelujahs, and it was just incredible. When she had calmed down, which was after several minutes, she said to me that Open Doors had provided her with a goat. In fact, with 2 goats, and they were both pregnant. Both goats delivered twins. So she now had 6 goats. And she said, what's more, the 2 nannies are pregnant again. We had transformed her and her family's life by providing 2 goats. She now has enough milk and cheese and meat for the whole family, and she sells the excess to provide other basic essentials. On my last visit to Nigeria with Dr. David just last year, we went to Adamawa State, where we, in St. Teresa's convent, we met many internally displaced people. It's estimated that 2.1 million people have been displaced in Nigeria through the activities of Boko Haram and the Fulani herdsmen. 7,500 of those were crowded into the grounds of this convent. But we were there to provide aid. And in a moment, you'll see the sort of land that they were living on. And we provided food and Bibles. And here we are with the aid being unloaded from the lorries. And here is our president, Eddie, with 4 church leaders from London, including Dr. David, as you can see there. Thank you. And then at this large Lutheran church in Yola in Adamawa State, we met with 50 pastors, including the pastor who should have been with us this morning. And they told us some horrendous stories of what they'd been through. The pastor who should have been here had explained how he looked after a church that had 400 to 500 people. But most of his congregation had either been killed by Boko Haram or forced to leave. After their biggest attack, only 10 people were left in his congregation. But as the pastor was explaining, he felt called by God to be there, and he didn't want to move. But how was he going to be supported? His congregation had gone. So Open Doors stepped in, provided him and his family with whatever it was that he needed so that he could stay there. His congregation is now back to approximately 100, as more people are thankfully returning. We also spoke to many victims of Boko Haram, people who have had loved ones murdered, women who have been raped, people who have been beaten, shot, and many forced away from their homes. And so we were able to hear their stories, to offer them words of encouragement from the scriptures, and to pray with them. And this is very special. I know you support some of the Chibok families, some of the parents whose daughters were kidnapped almost 3 years ago. Well, here are some of those Chibok families who we were able to meet with and again offer words of support. But the message I want to leave you with is one of great hope, because although there are some horrendous stories coming out of Nigeria, particularly because of the violence meted out by Boko Haram, God is at work in that land and continues to give his people hope for the future. And here on this plot of land just outside Jos in Plateau State, Open Doors has purchased this land. And this year we plan to build a specialist training centre to deal with people who have experienced the most awful persecution, who have suffered such trauma that they need help. And so individuals and families will come to this centre when it's built to receive that specialist help. And here we have our president again with our 4 church leaders from London praying over this land. And we just have now a very short 2-minute DVD clip from one of those church leaders explaining what that land is going to be used for. But while that is being loaded up, can I just say also, we have here in the entrance foyer some more information about Open Doors. And if you are a church leader or involved in leadership in any way, there is one of these packs for you on the table out in the foyer. Please do pick it up and take it. In there is some very useful information. There's some more DVD clips and ways in which you can get involved. So please do make sure that you or your church leader pick up a copy of that before you go. Interestingly, I do hope that our pastor comes either later today or tomorrow, because on Wednesday we are launching our 2017 what we call World Watch List, the 50 countries across the world where it's most difficult or dangerous to be a Christian. And the Nigerian pastor, together with a pastor from Erbil in Iraq, they're both coming into the Houses of Parliament where we've been invited to launch the 2017 World Watch List. And there will be many people there, many MPs and peers and members of the press. And so I'm sure you will hear all about it. But if you want more information, if you'd like a copy of our report that goes along with the World Watch List, all you need to do is contact our office on www.opendoorsuk.org, and you can get your own copy free of charge. I'm not sure whether we have that DVD, and I don't want to hold things up unnecessarily. But let me just explain on that land. As I say, we hope to build this specialist clinic, but we do need the help of people across the UK in raising support for that, support in prayer. So please, can I urge you to pray for the work of Open Doors, and particularly for that trauma clinic in Jos in Plateau State. But also we need financial support. And in these packs, again, you'll find links as to how you can do that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your ongoing support. And thank you, Pastor, very much for the time. God bless you all.
As a shepherd, as a pastor, we don't take pleasure in burying our members and seeing orphans in the church and widows in the church. Whenever we see them, we feel bad because as a pastors, we have to take care of them, and we have no resources, we have no power, we have nothing to help them.
Suka yi harbi, suna ta harbi, muna ta guduwa. Sun kashe ɗan'uwan mai gidana. sai sun sake zuwa mana a 2015 sun zo har sun harbe ni a nono da kuma ciki. Mun yi jinya a Jude. Daga nan sai muka dawo gida, har yanzu wurin bai bar ni sosai ba, kuma an samu lafiya domin taimake su.
I'm standing here.
Praise the Lord.
Fantastic piece of land.
Praise the Lord. We can't seem to get the pictures, so we'll sort that out and we'll play it back. Incidentally, I was just asked to interpret what the lady was saying. And for those who don't know, I did understand what she was saying, but I'll spare you the interpretation for now. Praise the Lord. Please welcome. Okay, praise the Lord. She was actually talking about the fact that her husband and her people were slaughtered in 2015. If you want further interpretation, I'll come back and see me. I speak Hausa, so that's fine. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. There's a challenge out there for us, isn't there? As believers, there's a challenge out there for us. And whilst we can be a part of this in different ways, and today being our Vision Sunday, this sets the scene for us as well as to the sort of things we can get involved in as a church, as a people. First and foremost, as Reverend Roger said, pray on a daily basis. On a daily basis, we need to lift up people around the globe, lift up the vision, lift up those who are persecuted. Remember open doors in your prayers, and that's very important because we know that with God, all things are possible. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Well, I'd like to invite the choir back up here as we prepare for our offering this morning. We'll take our offering now. Now, just to put in context, we'll take our tithes and our offering, and we would later on to this we'll have the opportunity to have our Thanksgiving service and our Thanksgiving for the year 2017. So we'll celebrate that together in the normal way. Now, I want us to prepare for our tithes and our offering. If you like an envelope, please ask the ushers for one. I'd like to remind all taxpayers, please use the blue envelope. If you're a non-taxpayer, please use the green one.